President Trump had a meeting with airline executives yesterday, and during the meeting, he casually endorsed war crimes yet again. So here's what he said. We spent $6 trillion in the Middle East. We got nothing. We never even kept even a little tiny oil well. I said, keep the oil. We have nothing, and we have an obsolete plane system, obsolete airports, obsolete trains. We have bad roads. We're going to change all that, folks. You're going to be so happy with Trump. I think you already are. Okay, so look, on the infrastructure part of that, he's totally right. We have a crumbling infrastructure. Our infrastructure gets a grade of D. It's abysmal. We don't invest nearly as much as we should in it, and we need a new deal to rebuild our infrastructure and give people great jobs. So on that front, I think he's right to talk about that issue. On wasting money in Iraq, I think he's right to talk about that issue. He says we spent $6 trillion. Actually, when all is said and done, it's going to be about $7 trillion. So, and if you think there's not a big difference between 6 and 7 trillion, make me a check for the difference. Thanks. So the problem is, as you heard, we never even kept a little tiny oil well. I said, keep the oil. By the way, that's not true. Actually, oil production in Iraq shot through the fucking roof during the war and while we're there. So if you think there's a little bit of that going on already, there is. But putting that aside, he's advertising this to the world and presenting it as if it's a good idea, as if it's well within the realm of respectable debate and conversation. We keep the oil. That's what we do. We keep the oil. We should keep the oil. Keep the oil. Keep the oil. Tremendous, believe me. Let me just tell you. Don, you can't do that. You can't say that. We shouldn't do that to the extent we are doing it. And I know you want to put it into fucking overdrive because you just picked ExxonMobil CEO for your Secretary of State. So he has plans to take even more of the oil, believe you me. But in order to put this in perspective, think about it if it wasn't us saying it. Think about if it was anybody else saying it, any other country. Ally or enemy. Think about if it was Iran. Yeah, well, we're going to do, I don't know, we're going to go topple the Israeli government and take their fill in the blank with whatever they're producing. We're just going to go take, take their natural resources. We're going to go take their goods. We're going to go in there, we're going to topple Israel, and then we're going to take their goods. I love how I'm giving the Iranian government the Trump mannerisms. Pretty sure that's not their mannerisms. But everybody would go, oh my God, what the fuck? What? That's crazy. So you're saying you're a rogue terror state, and that's how you're going to act. If any other government just casually said, yeah, we're going to go into a sovereign nation that didn't attack us, we're going to wage an offensive war, and then we're going to steal their shit, the reaction would be, oh, so you're admitting you're terrorists. That's what it is. You're a rogue state. By the way, since that's the case, is the United States now ripe for regime change? I mean, we did an illegal war, killed hundreds of thousands of civilians, occupied the country. We're doing 7 interventions right now. By the way, certainly not all of them approved by Congress. They were all tacked on to a previous declaration of war and approval for war. So that's unconstitutional. It violates international law, of course. The Iraq war was illegal under international law. So are we ripe for regime change? Because that's the argument we make about other people. Oh, Saddam wasn't listening to the UN. What are we going to do? We got to go topple him. Wait, what? But you don't listen to the UN all the time. Yeah, but that's different. Why is it different? Why is it different? So we get to violate international law, and you need to www.shutthefuckup.org. But if somebody else does it, they're ripe for regime change. We got to go in there and topple them. No, these double standards are preposterously stupid. And if you buy into them, you've just been thoroughly brainwashed by the comical idea of American exceptionalism, which means we are above the law by definition, and if you question that, you're the enemy. But this is how every single empire throughout human history functioned. Every single one claimed, oh, different set of rules for us because, I mean, come on. We're the good guys. We're the world police. We're the ones who care about human rights. We're the ones who are defending the proper value system. So the world needs us to lead, and they need us to, when we violate the law, well, our intentions are so pure and so good and so just that it's not the same thing. No. You are what you do. You understand that? I mean, you want to talk about the most Occam's razor of all Occam's razory comments. You are what you do. So if you're a country that decides we're going to invade a country that didn't attack us, topple the government, create a vacuum that ISIS rises up out of, kill hundreds of thousands of civilians, continue occupying it, do drone strikes and interventions in 7 different countries. By the way, the drone strikes kill 90% the wrong people. We're going to every now and then drone some weddings. We're going to torture people. We're going to have extrajudicial prisons. We're going to have no due process, no habeas corpus. We're going to torture and all that stuff. So you do all that stuff, well, then you don't get to turn around and say we're the good guys, because those actions are bad and they violate international law and they're immoral and they're unethical. So, but again, a guy like Trump and hardcore nationalists and myopic, selfish pricks, they don't get it. If you're on the far right, you do not get this concept that perhaps the same rules that apply to everybody else should apply to you. They just don't agree with that. They think, no, we get to do whatever we want. So when we talk about going in and stealing oil from a sovereign nation that didn't attack us, that we illegally invaded, we're still the good guys. But you're not! And this is why, very important fact here, there was polling done a few years ago where I think it was U.S. polling agencies, so I think Gallup, it was either Gallup or Pew, but they asked all around the world, over 10,000 people, hey, who's the biggest threat to world peace? Number 1 by a mile, the United States of America. Now, again, you look at that and your response is, if you're biased in the context of, well, I'm an American and that's not how I view it, your response is, oh, well, everybody else is crazy. Fucking crazy. Propaganda, brainwashing them. Or maybe the propaganda is brainwashing you. Maybe that. Maybe when you look at the fucking laundry list of countries that we've invaded and toppled and put in puppet fascist leaders post-World War II, maybe there is some looking in the mirror that has to be done. So, but now you have Donald Trump who decided, I'm done putting the thin veneer of civilization over the savage actions. Now I just go out there and casually in press conferences say, let's just steal natural resources from sovereign nations that didn't attack us. Let's just do that. And here's the thing that I can't get over. The media had nothing to say about this. This story I go to fucking maybe 20 different sites when prepping for this show every day. So I read 1 million articles a day. One site had this story. Now, by the way, print usually does a great job, print outlets, and they're exempt from all my criticisms of mainstream media, by and large. But this was an instance where only one site had it. You turn on CNN, you turn on MSNBC, you turn on Fox News, you turn on the nightly news, ABC, CBS, ABC, NBC, you name it. None of them had anything to say about this. See, this is what I mean when I say our mainstream media is broken. Because their outrage meter is out of whack. There was significantly more coverage of Donald Trump tweeting about Nordstrom and his daughter's clothing line than there was about him casually calling for war crimes. That's unacceptable. Now, don't get me wrong. The Nordstrom story actually was a story because you can't use the presidency as a bully pulpit to go after companies for personal reasons because it affected your daughter. That's crazy. So that is a real story. Don't get me wrong. But should there be disproportionately way more coverage of that story than of this story? No, not even close. You want to talk about a situation where you can actually use the breaking news banner, which CNN uses for fucking everything, by the way, and they misuse it and they abuse it. One time they did breaking news, the Titanic sank 102 years ago today. I know that sounds like a SNL skit. It wasn't. But this is an instance where you could actually use the breaking news banner. And they not only did they not use the breaking news banner, they didn't even fucking cover it. They had nothing to say about it because their moral compass is broken and they've bought into the ideology and the framework of American exceptionalism where it's just casually accepted. Well, yeah, when we do it, it's different. When we do it, it's different. So when our presidents do or call for open violations of international law and stealing natural resources from a country that didn't attack us, I don't see where the story is. What? Trump has said take the oil 1,000 other times. I don't see why this is a big story. Every single fucking time he mentioned it, there should have been a giant media backlash, and there should have been anchors on air saying, you cannot do this. This is not what the United States of America is supposed to stand for. This is a violation of international law. This is a crime. This is wrong. This is unethical. This is immoral. Everyone should have done that, and none of them did it. Maybe if you nipped it in the bud and you had a giant outrage and backlash the first time he said it, he wouldn't still be saying it. Our system is broken at every level.